Well, hi everybody. I'm so glad to be here as a guest of Michael Johnson and Sheridan College, and we're going to spend some time today talking about real estate. Does everybody know, Michael, where the? Thank you very much for that, Ali. Does everybody know where the chat box is?
So everybody, the chat box is
Yeah,
at the bottom there, and uh, I
yeah,
appreciate Bruce for doing this because yeah, Bruce is a very generous person, and I met him about a year and a half ago,
yeah.
and he gave an incredible presentation about how we're gonna have our offices basically in our houses, and that was like a few months before COVID-19, and he
Yeah.
was bang on, and he has an incredible career, and he's very generous with his time, and yeah, amazing guy, and founded the Ottawa Senators, and a huge career, brilliant guy. Very, very grateful for him being here today.
Well, thanks for that, Michael. So we're going to get on with it. So what Michael asked me to do was to talk to you guys a little bit about real estate and real estate development, real estate investing. And I know a lot of people are interested in the subject. So I'm going to spend about 90 minutes with you guys talking about some different business models. When I teach real estate investment and real estate development, what I start with, and in fact, whether I'm teaching real estate investment or I'm teaching business, and I was the entrepreneur in residence at the Telfer School of Management. I spent 14 years teaching architecture at the Israeli School of Architecture and Urbanism at Carleton University. I built about 1,200 homes, dozens of office buildings and shopping plazas, but I'm best known for as the founder of the Ottawa Senators and building a 22,000 seat arena called the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa. So if there are any Senator fans on the call, that would be nice. But if you're a Maple Leaf fan, I forgive you. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk, as I said, about different business models. And that's the most fundamental part of any business. I don't care whether you're running a huge company, probably the most valuable company on the planet, Apple, or you're running a small startup, or you're running a real estate enterprise. You start with a business model. Business model is simply the engine of your business. Basically, the business model, there's you in the middle. On the right-hand side, you've got customers. On the left-hand side, you've got suppliers. Up on the top, you've got some marketing partners. And somehow these are all interconnected. So a business model is not a business plan, just so everybody's clear on that. It's usually just a one-page pictogram. It's like a picture of what your business and the engine of your business looks like. But today we're going to talk specifically about real estate and real estate business models. And what I do now, I am retired from the University of Ottawa and from Carleton University, and from my career as a developer, and I had a number of other careers. And what I do now is I just do some real estate investment and business coaching. I like doing it. And my dad, just so everybody knows, my dad, before he passed away, said to me, Bruce, you know, people should never retire. You could change what you do, which I certainly have done, but just to retire and sit at home and watch TV all day, Michael, would be pretty boring. So I certainly don't want to do that. A little bit more about me. Michael said I'm the founder of the Ottawa Senators, but I've mentioned also I'm a real estate investment and business coach. I've also got my real estate license, so I'm armed and dangerous. I work with Royal LePage. But I have a civil engineering degree from McGill University in Montreal, and then I moved to Australia for many years, where I got a Master's of Engineering Science from the University of New South Wales in Sydney, and then I did my PhD in urban economics at the Australian National University in Canberra. And I'm going to start with something like completely off the map for almost everybody here, because most people, when they teach you a little bit about real estate, they won't teach you anything other than maybe flipping houses, you know, which I don't teach, because most people who flip until they flop. So what I'm going to show you is some business models that people about your age or maybe a little bit older are pursuing. These are clients of mine in Canada and the United States. I have a few in Australia and overseas as well. And these are mainly young people in their late 20s, 30s, some in their 40s, and of course some older as well. So these are business models that I better make sure I can let these people in. I apologize, you guys, if I look off to the side. It's because I'm letting people in. They're in the waiting room. and trying to monitor the chat box at the same time. So and everything else that I have to do. But I'm going to show you some business models that really are different. I didn't want to just show you the typical models that you might see. So let me show you this one. What you can see on the screen here is a long, skinny industrial building that was for sale. This, I think, is in Kitchener-Waterloo, in that area, and it was an 80,000 square foot industrial building. That's pretty big. That had been on the market for, I think, a year or even over a year. Nobody wanted this building. And one of my clients, and he's a brilliant young man, his first name is Shaddy, and I said, Shaddy, you ought to buy that. And he has experience as a real estate developer. He's, you know, he's got some homes that he's bought and rented out, and he's got some other projects. So he's not a complete neophyte. And I said, you ought to buy this industrial building. So, oh, I don't know anything about commercial, or not very much. And what would I do with an empty industrial building that's big and it's cheap, but what would I do with it? I said, aha, you should have a business model, and I'll show you what it looks like. I want to make sure I'm admitting everybody. So again, I'm looking off for that reason. So here you have a long, skinny building, and this is what it looks like. The reason it had been for sale for a long time is industrial buildings today should have at least 20 or 22 or 24 feet of ceiling height. So floor to slab should be, you know, something like 24 feet. In fact, Amazon and Wayfair, when they build fulfillment centers, you know, those big giant facilities where they promise to get you stuff in an hour or two, they're going with 60-foot ceiling height. So they are working in 3 dimensions. Imagine a 60-foot, 6-story building that's a big warehouse, and it's not a man or a woman on the ladder sort of getting you a book or something like that. They have these robots that work in 3 dimensions. So this particular building, as soon as I saw it, I said, Shaddy, you ought to buy this. You'll buy it very inexpensively because nobody else wants it. And the worse these buildings are, the better I like them. So this one has 11'2" ceiling height. That's obviously quite below industry standard. And it has, you can see, columns marching right through the building, and it's long and skinny. So big industrial users like Amazon, they want big square boxes that have huge you know, ceiling height, and they're certainly column free because they want to be able to move around and move things without regard for that. I said, but Shaddy, I have a business model for this. And he said, what is it? I said, this is an ideal building to turn into workshops. And I want to make sure I've got everybody in. And so he said, workshops. And I said, yes, small workshops, 400 square feet, 800 square feet, maybe 1,500 square feet, but quite small. And I'm just going to go back to the previous slide. And you can see it's absolutely perfectly set up for that. You can go all the way down and you can slice it like slicing a tomato into these little tiny spaces. Because I have a theory, and I've been working on this for about 6 or 7 years, so long before the pandemic hit us, that as Michael said in his introduction, that people would be working from home, but also that more and more people would have some kind of side hustle. And I'll bet you on this call, we have, I don't know, 10 or 12 people on the call here, something like that. I'll bet you some of the people on this call have a side hustle. My side hustle is I like to do some real estate investment and business coaching. That's my side hustle, and I'm 69, right? I'll bet you there's some people here. So I said, even before the pandemic, and now there are millions and millions of people in Canada, the United States, a lot of them doing this kind of thing. So they all need these little workshops. So Shaddy bought this building, and this was some sketching that he did. So he did some hand sketching of what these workshops would look like. And within days of buying this building, he was building these small workshops. And you can see how tiny they are. I mean, this one that you're looking at on the right-hand side, I'll bet you is maybe 300 or 400 square feet. And some of them, as I mentioned, were a little bigger. So let's have a look at what the results have been for Shaddy. I call this model the Shaddilac model. It's obviously a riff on Cadillac. And I just happen to like his first name, Shaddy. So we call it the Shaddilac model just because I like his first name, and we rhymed it with Cadillac. I hope he doesn't get sued, by the way. So he's got an 80,000 square foot building. The average size of these workshops is 800 square feet. So he's got 100 of these. And as fast as he could build them, he could rent them. And you can see that he ended up with about $100,000 a month in net operating income. Just so you understand, in real estate, there's gross operating income, which is all the money you get from your rents and other sources of income. And then you have to pay some expenses against that. Unfortunately, we have to pay property taxes, we have to pay insurance, and we have to pay maintenance. And so some of that gross operating income goes out the window. Net operating income, it doesn't bear any relationship to mortgage payments. So it's all the costs that you have of owning real estate, you know, vacancies, property management, repairs, maintenance, property taxes, as I mentioned, but it doesn't, nothing to do with financing. So get that out of your mind. So he ended up with about $1.2 million a year in income. But wait till I tell you what he bought it for. He bought the building for $1.2 million. So it'd be like all of us, you know, buying a house for say $500,000 and being able to rent it out for $500,000 a year. And Michael, if you find any of those, could you let me know, because I'd like to buy them. All right. So he bought it for $1.2 million. He put $880,000 of renovations into it. He had some soft costs. That just means some engineering fees and architecture fees and other things. He had some financing costs, some financing fees, some interest to pay. He had a pretty big contingency allowance because it was a new thing for him. So he ended up with about a $2.2 or $2.3 million total cost. But here is the magic of what he was able to do. He was able to generate net operating income of about $1.2 million on a cost of about $2.2 or $2.3 million. That gives you a cap rate or capitalization rate of 53.3%. That is incredible. Like if you typically were to buy a house, I don't know, a townhouse in Toronto and rent it out, you'd probably get 2 or 3%. So Michael, unmute yourself for a second.
Yeah.
Skill testing question. What is better, a 3% return on investment from a townhouse in Toronto or a 53% return on investment from his Shaddilac model?
53%.
There you go. Give your instructor a full A+ on his assignment tonight. But here's the beautiful thing about it. He was able to get it valued by an appraiser. Appraiser does an evaluation for a lender or a bank using a fair market value cap rate of 8.5%. So I'm going to stop for a minute and explain what a cap rate is, just so everybody's clear. All right, Allie, can you unmute yourself just because I can see you?
Yep.
All right. So tonight, after the lecture is over, you're sitting on your couch. Do you have a couch in your house?
Yep, right there.
Okay, you're sitting on your couch and you go, oh my God, there's something under my bottom here, and you reach down in the couch and you find $500,000 in coins in your couch, cash, and you go, I really like this couch. So you pull out your $500,000 of cash right from your couch, and you go and buy, I don't know, a townhouse. Okay. So you buy that townhouse for $500,000 and you rent it, I'm just making up the numbers, for $2,500 a month. So your total rent on your $500,000 townhouse is $30,000 a year. About $10,000, about 34% of your gross operating income goes out the window for, as I said, property taxes, repairs and maintenance, property management, vacancy allowance, all the other stuff, insurance, all the other stuff you have to pay. Again, nothing to do with mortgage, because you didn't need a mortgage, right?
Yeah, because I found the cash.
Yeah, you found your money, all the money you needed in the couch,
yeah.
Which is great to have. And so you're left with about $20,000 of net operating income on something that you paid $500,000 for. So what is your ROI? What is your return on investment?
After how many years?
Well, per annum. So you've got $20,000 in net operating income coming in, and you spend $500,000.
It's 30K annually. Well, how much is the expenses, you said?
So no, not your expenses. Your net operating income after paying all your expenses is $20,000. So you've got $20,000 in your hand from after paying all your expenses, and you bought the place for $500,000. What's your return on investment? Anybody want to help him out? Come on, you got the chat box there.
I think it's 25%, I believe.
Nope. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Not you, Michael. You already
35?
what did you get?
35?
No.
I think it's
You're
lower.
making 20 grand, and it cost you $500,000 to buy it. What's your return on investment? What's your
0.04%, yeah.
Oh, okay. Ali's got it, 4%. There you go. So,
Actually, Anirban got it first.
all right. Okay. Well, okay. You get a D and he gets an A.
I was doing.
I put you on the spot. I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah,
So thank you. So what Ali and our team figured out is that by Ali investing $500,000 in this townhouse, and he could make $20,000 after paying all of his expenses. Remember, there's no mortgage because he didn't need a mortgage. He's making a 4% return on investment. 4%. Michael, I'll ask you this question. If you put the same $500,000 into your bank account, how much would you make? What do you get from a bank these days in interest?
I know it would be. It's probably under 1%. I invest all my money in stock.
Yeah. We're not asking stocks. We're asking banks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's under 1%. It's been a while since I just had.
That's fine. That's a good guess. Let's go with 1%. So Gabriel, can you unmute yourself for a second? Gabriel?
Gone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. Why don't you put your camera on too, so we can see your face.
I'm not looking too cute right now.
Oh, you're looking fine. You know, wait till you're 69. Hey, you know what? When people see me after, they see pictures of me when I was with the Senators. I was a founder of the team. I was 39, and then they see me when I'm 69. They say, "What happened to you, Bruce?" And then I say, "Well, wait a second." My mother said, Gabriel, that hockey years were 2 for 1. So really, I'm about 140 years of age.
I was gonna say you look good for 69. You don't look 69.
Oh, listen, I'm coming back next week for another compliment.
for the finals.
I appreciate that.
No,
You guys are so nice. So anyway, Gabriel, what is better, Ali's townhouse that produces 4% or Michael Johnson's bank account that produces 1%?
It depends on how much liquidity you need, honestly.
That's a good answer.
Are you just talking about in general?
Just in general, yeah.
In general, I'd say the townhouse, right?
Yeah, because the 4% measures, his cash return, but in addition to that, you hope that every year maybe it goes up a little bit in value.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it went up, say 3% in value. That's another $15,000 of return. It's not a cash return, but the value is going up, and you own the townhouse, or Ali owns the townhouse. So really, Ali is making $20,000 of cash and maybe another $15,000 of appreciation. So he's probably making $35,000. If he took the same $500,000 and put it in the bank, he would make 1%, say, like Michael said. So he'd make $5,000. So $35,000 last time I checked is better than $5,000. So that's the magic of real estate. But imagine, Gabriel, if you were to put your money into something like Shaddy did, in Kitchener-Waterloo, and you're able to make 53%. That is life-changing.
Yeah, you don't hear of returns like that.
No, and when you do, you don't believe them.
Yeah. You're like, nah, you're trying to sell me something.
Really, yeah, you ought to buy this, So what he did, though, Gabriel, was he managed to get it reappraised, where they used an 8.5% cap rate, the appraiser did, to value the income stream. Because in commercial, it's not like in, Ali's townhouse, if you're valuing it, you probably wouldn't value it on its income. You would look at comparables. What did other townhouses close by in the recent past sell for? And you say, well, that's about what it's worth. But in commercial real estate, and in some residential circumstances, you value it on the basis of income. So when you have an income stream of $1.2 million and you value it at 8.5%, it comes out as a fair market value of 14 million bucks. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's very simple. You just simply take 1.2 million divided by 8.5, you get $14 million.
Yep.
And so I teach a method called the BARF method, B-A-R-F. And the A stands for animate. And I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But here's the cool thing. After owning it for 3 years, he was able to go out and get a 65% loan to value mortgage. It means he can get a mortgage on it at 65% of the appraised value, which is about $9.3 million. You remember his total cost was 2.2 or 2.3 million. He was able to take out $7 million out of this building after about 3 years.
That's crazy.
That's life-changing.
Yeah.
Okay. And you might say, well, oh, well, that's okay for Shaddy. I mean, you know, but I couldn't do that. You know, if you had a good coach, you might be able to, because what a lot of young people do your age is they don't have, you know, the 2.2 or 2.3 million dollars to buy it and renovate it.
Yeah.
But they find ways to finance it. And how do they do that? They get a mortgage on it. Sometimes from the seller instead of from the bank or a lender, and they bring in some investors. Okay, but the entrepreneurs I coach, and as I said, many of them quite young, the investors get some of the cake, but not all of it. And most of the investors I coach, we try and make sure they get 55% of the deal, if not a little bit more, even with very little money. I've had some of my young people buy properties that are quite big, with maybe $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 of their own cash. The rest is from investors and from other lenders, but they managed to maintain about 55%, hopefully, of the deal. So if you can do a deal like this, and 3 years later you can refinance it and take out $7 million in tax-free cash, 55% of that would be yours. That's kind of the magic of real estate. If you have a good business model. If you have a crappy business model, then this doesn't really work. You just have to own stuff in real estate for 20 or 30 years and hope it goes up in value. But this is a little bit different. Going back to why this model works, this is something I started in 2015 teaching, and maybe even 2014. And back then, 1.5 million Canadians were self-employed. Many of them, you know, not young anymore, and more than 500,000 Canadians were entering the ranks of the self-employed, the side hustle, the gig economy every year. That has just zoomed up. I own a number of buildings like this, that I have a number of industrial buildings that I also have been converting to this model, because I saw what Shaddy was doing. I said, hey, I can do that too. So that's what I did. So these were the numbers back in 2015. They're much higher now. So it's a great business model. All right, so let me show you another application of something similar. All right. Here is a property that two young fellows I coach bought. It was a wonderful old building in a small village, it was a country store, and I think it's like 130 or 140-year-old building, so it doesn't look it, but it's been around for a long time. And what they did was they bought it, and they have on the right-hand side here, they have a little one-bedroom apartment on the ground floor. Believe it or not, they have a 350-square-foot co-working space here. They have a 4-bedroom apartment upstairs. All of this was renovated by them. And then there's a detached garage. And Gabriel and Ali, it won't surprise you and the rest of you to hear what they did with the garage. They turned it into a workshop and rented that too, right? So that's pretty cool. But then it turns out they have a humongous backyard. And I said to Alex and Stephan, I said, boys, you got to build another workshop in your backyard. And I thought they might build a 400-square-foot, which is a good size, workshop in the backyard. But they're ambitious young fellows, and they said, no, we're going to build 1,600 square feet. That's really actually big for a residential backyard workshop. So here's the, you can see they were building the concrete floor here. The workshop is actually a kit. You can see the kit is lying down here on the slab. Here's Stephan, and there's Alex. And there's Alex standing in front of the shed as they pop it up. got a few more pictures as we go. There's another one you get to see. And you notice how there are two entrances, and I'll explain why that's important. There's one here with a man door or person door here, and there's one at the other end with an overhead door and a person door there as well. Here it is, almost finished. There's their parking lot. And now we're looking inside as it's completed. So you can see the reason we put a door, an overhead door and a person door on each end is so that this thing could be divided into two. So if you have a tenant who needs a half of it, obviously you could put a divider down there, or you could 2/3, 1/3, or somebody can have the whole thing, right? Or if you have a shop, you can actually just, you can drive in, drive out. That's a very important thing in many industrial uses. And they rented this to a group who does, they do cannabis testing. They don't grow weed here. What they do is you send them your seeds or your leaves or whatever it is. I'm not an expert. And they actually put it through a lab test for potency. So it's a legal operation. Legal, not illegal, and a very successful operation. And they have the whole thing as a kind of a test lab. So here's just another picture of the building here again, and there's the workshop here. But then we were standing, these are pictures taken by me. I look better behind the camera, I can tell you that. And we were, I took these pictures. There's Alex and Stephan, and then this is a young man, works for me, Simon Case. And it's a big site. It's 1.6 acres. So I said, you know what, guys? This building used to be like the center of this village. It used to be a really important part of the village. I said, do you guys know anything about glamping? Does anybody on the call know anything about glamping?
I've heard of it, but that's about it.
Okay, Gabriel's heard about it. Anybody else? Nope, nope, nope. So glamping is just simply glamorous camping. When I was a kid, I liked camping. For me, camping back then was, a backpack, a canoe, a paddle, and a ground sheet. But young people like we have on the call tonight, including your instructor, young people tend to like a little bit more luxury these days. And the idea of just throwing a ground sheet and lying on the ground. I used to go on canoe trips by myself with a shotgun, and because there are bears. And I like the peace and quiet of being in the woods. And if you break a leg, you die, because you're on your own. But today, people like to have something. You can see this a glamping tent here. It's not a tent like what we had when I was a kid. It's got what do you call these things? What is that called, Michael, over here? Hot tub, right? Can you see it?
Yeah,
it's got a hot tub, and it's got a dining room or outdoor dining room. It's got all the comforts, and people are paying ridiculous prices. I couldn't believe it. This is going back a few years. People would pay $450 a night or $405 a night to sleep in a glamping tent. All right. Now this does include a nice meal, but still, it's a lot of money. So this is still part of their property, Alex and Stephan's property. And I said, this meadow is absolutely beautiful. So I said, why don't you guys put a glamping tent there? I mean, think about this, you guys. Even if they get, say, $300 a night, and they get 20 nights a month, that's $6,000. If you had 3 of them, that's $18,000 a friggin' month. Now in Ottawa, we only get about 3 days of summer, so of course, where most of you guys live, it is a little bit warmer. But seriously, we have about 113 days of summer. So I said, oh my gosh, you guys should add some of these glamping tents, because I had a theory that there's demand for what I call urban glamping. So the village is close to Ottawa. It's only about 45 minutes south of Ottawa. I said, why don't you add these glamping tents? So they said, oh, that's such a great idea. Another $18,000 a month for us. I said, exactly. And then I had an even better idea. Okay, I'm doing this right now, okay? Can you all see me patting myself? I apologize. But I said, one of my former architecture students, her name is Anissa Zato, is building these beautiful yurts in Pickering, Ontario. Can you all see them okay? So I said, if you go with a glamping tent like this, okay, like this on the lower left-hand side, you get 113 days. But if you buy one of Anissa's yurts, they're good down to -40, which is okay in Ottawa, right? In Caledon doesn't get that cold, but in Ottawa it does. And I said, you could run this thing year round, because today people love glamping even in the wintertime. They go tobogganing, they go snowshoeing, they smoke weed and drink wine, you know, and enjoy their time. And so that's what they did. Instead of buying a tent, they bought a yurt, because it's insulated and it comes with a chimney, and you can put a wood stove or a propane stove or a natural gas stove in there, nice and toasty and warm. And you can see it's quite beautiful. And so I was so impressed with this model, I bought 2 of those yurts from Anissa myself. I own a property of 177 acres with 4,000 frontage feet on the second best fishing lake in Ontario. And I was so impressed with what the boys were doing, I bought a couple of her yurts and put them up at Constant Lake near Eganville. And trust me, they rent like crazy. I can't, you know, we're completely booked and make a lot of money from 2 friggin' yurts. Who knew? That's what a business model can do for you. And just so you guys know, one of my neighbors is a tech guy. He's in his mid-40s, and he's fallen on hard times. And he asked me for some advice. And, you know, I am a coach. So I said, well, I'll see. And I said to him, first thing you have to do, I'll call him Bill. That's not his real name. I said, Bill, is the first thing you have to do is you have to close down your tech companies. They're all losing money. And if you want to make your situation better, and the first step to making your situation better is to stop losing money. I know it's easy to say, you guys, but it's actually hard to do, because, you know, you get kind of married to your ideas and you think, oh, it'll get better, but it almost never does. So I said, Bill, why don't you close your tech company? He said, yeah, but how am I going to pay my bills? Well, I said, it doesn't help you pay your bills if you lose money every month on your business. He said, oh yeah, that's right. So I asked him what he was interested in doing, and it turned out he was interested in being an energy healer. I didn't even know what an energy healer was, but he explained to me, he had done some training. So I said, why don't you put a yurt in your backyard, and people can rent that, and, you know, do urban glamping in your backyard. And you can practice, and you can, as a sort of an add-on, you can do some energy healing with them. Oh, he said, that's a great idea. So we have some people right in my neighborhood with a backyard yurt, believe it or not. One of the things that we do at Constant Lake and at other places like at Bill's house is, if you have a bathroom in the main house, all you have to do is add a door to the outside, so somebody who's using your yurt can actually find his or her way to a bathroom and have a shower and do whatever else they need to do. It's called a double-loaded access. The other thing that I'm huge on, guys, in terms of animation ideas, animation, not Disney animation, but property animation, is adding something I call a playland. And I have this theory that people, families, couples, friends that play together, stay together. I want you to remember that. People that play together, stay together. In my house, I've got mini ping pong tables. I've got games galore, board games galore. I've got all kinds of things that I have in my house and in my backyard. I have 5 kids, 3 little grandsons, hoping to have more grandchildren. And you know, whether it's with my wife of 36 years or my children or my grandchildren, I really strongly believe that. And so I said, when you're doing something like urban glamping or the glamping out in the rural area, add an outdoor ping pong table. I don't know if any of you put it in the chat box. Do any of you play pickleball? Put it in the chat box. Yes or no?
I don't know which one. Right? This one, right? I played it only once, I believe.
So no, so somebody says, no, I like basketball. But the beautiful thing about pickleball is it's played with a wiffle ball, you know, with holes in it. So I can play with my sons and my grandsons and my daughters who can run faster than me and hit much harder, because no matter how hard they hit the ball, as soon as it comes off the racket, it slows down. It's a lot of fun. And we do other things. We put bocce courts in. We do cornhole, which is the beanbag toss game. We have badminton. We do beach volleyball. We do really simple stuff. So we have these playlands at all of my rental buildings, including even my industrial buildings, not just my residential buildings. All of them have a playland, all of them. And because, industrial people work hard, but they like to have fun too, and they play silly games. You'd be amazed at the impact that it has. In some ways, maybe it's better than drinking and smoking weed. Now I'm going to show you another model. This is one of my daughters. I have three daughters and 2 sons. This is my middle daughter, Miriam. And I'll show you what I taught her to do, and something that I think pretty much everybody could do. So Miriam bought this house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath double. So a double, it means side by side. She owns half of it, and there's another half on the other side that she doesn't own. So it's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, single car garage. But what I liked about it is if you can follow my cursor, as you go around, it tends to slope down. So when you go around the back, this is the condition that we saw. And when I stood there with my daughter, I said to Miriam, this is the house you're going to buy. She said, why, Dad? What's with this? I said, because your basement has something called a walkout condition. A walkout condition is just what it sounds like. You can walk right out of the basement. So this is the way the house looked. It had this big window here and this door here when Miriam bought it. Now, here's some things that we were looking for. So this is located here. It's at 3 Splinter Crescent. It's about a 7-minute drive to the beach. So we like that. She's a young person. She's got a husband and a baby, and it's nice to be close to the beach. It's not far from Farm Boy, which is a popular food store, and everybody seems to like it. About 10 minutes or 4 minutes drive from Farm Boy. It's close to the Queensway Carleton Hospital and the Department of National Defense. This is in the west end of Ottawa. And if you're going to have any kind of a rental unit, you want to be close to major employment. Makes sense, right? Hospitals have a huge number of people. Many of them need apartments. And of course, the Department of National Defense has a lot of people working there too. So I said to Miriam, if you're going to have a basement apartment in this house, you're going to have an endless supply of tenants, right? So these are the things that we look for. It's not far from downtown, so it's about 17-minute drive to downtown Ottawa, which is pretty good. It's walking distance to a major shopping center. You can walk from her house to Bayshore Shopping Center, which is humongous, in 9 minutes, so close to shopping. And there's a thing called a walk score. Many of you don't know what that is. Some of you do. You can go online, and it's a free utility. You can put any address, I think, in North America, Canada, the United States, into this utility, and it will tell you its walk score. So her walk score is decent at 63, a good transit score at 65, and it's very bikeable. And these are very important for renting apartments. People don't want to get on a bus or have to drive everywhere, right? Especially these days, they would like to walk. So I said, maybe this has a good walk score. Now, you remember that door and the window that I showed you a few minutes ago? Well, now we're on the inside of that. And so here's the door and the window that we saw from the outside. And this was just an empty basement. And this is the renovation that Mimi did. Okay. So this is the living room. She put in a laminate floor here. She put in a kitchen. She couldn't afford new appliances, but still it looks decent. This is her kitchen. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, but because of the walkout condition, look how big those windows are. It doesn't really feel like a basement. And the very first tenant that she rented to light green, so we painted the bedroom green. And my wife and daughter made the bedroom bigger without making it bigger. How do you make it bigger without making it bigger? They took the cupboard out of the bedroom and put it in the hallway. You wouldn't do that in a 2-bedroom, but in a 1-bedroom, people don't mind changing in the hall. They go and take a shower, you come and get dressed for work, and out you go, right? You wouldn't do it in a 2-bedroom, but in a 1-bedroom, you would. This is the bathroom that they put in. It's quite big. It's got a nice shower. There used to be a stair going up to the main house, but we took that out to make room for everything, and it left a little bit of storage where the stairs used to be. And it's very important to have its own washer and dryer. So it has its own ingress and egress. It has its own washer and dryer, and it has its own little garden space too. Something else that we do on all of our apartments is we put in really good tech packages. We've been doing this for about 7 years. We own a company called AdSmart Tech. We do that obviously for our own portfolio, but we also do it for other people. So it's growing very quickly. It's called Add Smart Tech. So we add tech packages or multimedia packages. So every one of our apartments, the moment you rent from us, you have everything you'd ever want. You have a Google Mesh network, you know, no dead spots for Wi-Fi, really high-speed internet. You've got all the services. You've got Spotify, Amazon Music, Prime Video, HBO, Crave TV, Netflix. You know, Nest thermostats, which you can control from your smartphone. We don't use keys anymore. All of our doors are secured by keypad locks, which you can control from your smartphone. So if a tenant moves out, or if you have an Airbnb unit, you can change the code, right? So it has proven to be hugely popular, and it's also a very, very, very important profit center for us. All right. So what I teach people to do is even to treat your principal residence as if it was a rental, right? So if Mimi ever were to move out, she could rent the upstairs and she could rent the downstairs and hopefully make some money. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. Her husband got transferred to Calgary, and she and Jeremy and her baby, Leighton, moved to Calgary. So you can see that Mimi now gets about $3,700 a month for the upstairs and the downstairs, including the tech packages. This gives her a net operating income of about $31,000 a year, okay, because you're now all experts in NOI. And her property costs are, including her renovations, about $447,000. So she makes about a 7% cap rate. She doesn't make a crazy number like Shaddy at, what was it, 53%, but she does very well. So the goal that I put on everybody, including myself, is do not buy any property that doesn't have a cap rate of 6% or higher. And Mimi made, you know, she made the grade at 7%. So here's the question, all right? So who else can I pick on the call here tonight? Is it Zozia? Zozia? Did I say your name right?
Close. Zosha.
Zosha? Say it again?
Zosha.
Zosha. Can you turn your camera on? There we go. Thank you very much, Zosha. So, Zosha, if you're making $31,000 a year on your building, and assuming you're like Ali was, and you had the $447,000 of cash, so you're making $31,000. I want you to answer this question. The answer is here, so I'm going to go back so you don't see it. If you wanted a retirement income of $150,000 a year, so when you're much older, you wanted $150,000 a year from your real estate portfolio, and you knew you could get about $31,000 out of every Mimi house, how many Mimis would you have to buy?
I may need some help on this one.
I beg pardon?
I may need some help answering this one.
Okay, you want to get $150,000 a year of net operating income so that when you retire, you're not eating cat food. And you're making $31,000 a house. How many houses do you have to, how many houses like Mimi do you have to buy in order to get that? Allie's got the answer. Check it out. Anybody want to unmute themselves and help out here?
It's basically 31K divided by 150, and then it gives you how many houses do you need.
So it's the, you got it almost right. It's the other way around.
Opposite. Yeah.
So if you're making $31,000 a year from each house, and you want to have $150,000 in income, you need 5 houses, 4.8, but you can't buy 0.8.
You can't have a, yeah.
It's a little hard to get a 0.8 of a house. So you want to buy 5 Mimis. So Zosha, could you buy 5 houses, do you think, in your lifetime?
No.
You don't think you could do it?
No, I don't think I could do it.
Why?
I don't know. I just never thought about it, I guess, but I thought I could only afford one in my lifetime.
Okay.
So I never gave it a thought.
Do you all feel the same way, that you could only, in a whole lifetime, you could only accumulate one? Does everybody feel that way? Ali says no. Gab says no, I'm going to be rich. Who else is there? Ali says I have bigger dreams. How about some of the other guys? Come on. Help me out here. So, Zosha, I would say to you that you almost certainly could. You know, if you have a job or you have a side hustle that is successful, you know, think about, in Miriam's case, you know, she makes about $900 a month after paying everything, including her mortgage, right, from this house. So it doesn't cost her anything to hold on to. In fact, she makes a little bit of money. And if she had 5 of them over 20 years, you know, or 25 years, she would pay off all the mortgages. Do you understand that? She would pay off the mortgage over 20 or 25 years. So I think, you know, you might be able to do that. But if you were getting 1% interest from your bank and you wanted $150,000 a year of retirement income, you would have to save $15 million. Now that, Zosha, I guarantee you, you probably couldn't do, because I certainly couldn't do it either. So I think most of us could find a way to acquire 5 homes over a lifetime, rent them out. It's not that difficult, I don't think, and have a retirement income from real estate of $150,000 a year. That's what I think. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you could do it. I think, yeah, like I think it's possible if you have a high, like, you know, high cap rate, if it's like 53%, you know. Yeah.
Well, even without a 50% cap rate, but certainly
Yeah.
you're right. You're on the right track, Michael. If you have a high cap rate, then you'll do it faster. Okay.
Yeah. Like you said, 6% is like the like if you get 6% or higher, then
Yeah, 6% or higher, and certainly if you have 53%, that would be pretty freaking great.
Also depends how you rent the house. If you rent it to one person, you're gonna, like, if you rent it to one family, you're gonna get like way less than you're gonna rent it to, like, you're gonna rent each room to different people.
Well, in her case, she just has a tenant upstairs and a tenant downstairs, and she's doing pretty well. So there are a couple of things that I'd like you guys to get. So Michael, did I give you the links to these 2 books?
yeah, I know you sent me the Dropbox link.
Okay. So
Yeah,
if
I'll save it again just to make sure I have it.
Okay, so what I'd like Michael to do is to send each of you guys a couple of books that I wrote. This one is called Business Model Illustrations. It's only 67 pages long, but it has 10 case studies in it. I think you should read it. You don't have to, but I think you should. And I think you'd enjoy it. There are 3 business cases in it, and there are 7 real estate business models in it. And I think it'll become, maybe some of the stuff that I'm talking about will become a little clearer. And here's another book I wrote. It's called Don't Back Down, the real story behind the founding of the NHL's Ottawa Senators. And it has some real estate in it. It has some hockey stuff in it. It has some Major League Sports stuff in it. And it has a personal story too, mine. All right. So if you're, I'm going to ask Michael to send you the 2 books, and if you want to read them, they're e-books. You put them on your tablet and you can read them. But people seem to like them. I sold tens of thousands of them, and but I wanted you to have that from me. So Michael, I hope you'll send them to the guys and gals on the call tonight. All
Yes.
right, here's something. Okay. Here's a very, very you know, simple model that I think everybody could do. I call it the cabin in the woods business model. All right. And it's very simple. You buy a cheapo piece of dirt that nobody else wants. You build a 0 impact bunkie on it. You put that bunkie on Airbnb or VRBO, vacation rental by owner, And you could generate a really good cap rate, much better than Mimi's, of around 23 or 24%. And you can make yourself $161,000 in 6 to 18 months. Okay, and I'll show you this. So this is one that I'm doing actually right now. And I'm going to play, it's a 21-second animation. So this is a bunkie that we're actually building as we speak. So it's a pretty simple model. And so what I did was I bought a piece of property no one else wanted. It's about 80 acres. And we're going to create something we call cabin in the woods. It has an old cabin on it that is going to be replaced as we speak. We dug this pond, so we went out with a big diesel electric shovel and dug this, and we call it Cabin in the Woods. This pond actually has largemouth bass in it. I seeded the lake myself. I like to fish, and I captured some largemouth bass, tossed them in, and I call them the fish my Lady Di fish. The reason I call them my Lady Di fish is the day that I seeded the lake and the pond was the day that Lady Diana passed. And I had been fishing all day. I had my fish in a few barrels. I transported them to my lake and to the ponds. And I heard at around 10 or 10:30 that night, as I was standing by the side of the water, that Lady Diana had died. So I said a short prayer for her, and I put my fish into the ponds in the lake that I own, and wished them well, and wished Diana well. And that's my only fish story. So this cabin in the woods has its own composting toilet. So you get a toilet. These are actually really good now. So you don't need a septic field. They're composting toilets. We use a gray water system, which handles the wastewater from the building. Again, here I am with all kinds of games that we're putting in on the property, with a barrel sauna, the cornhole game, the outdoor ping pong, badminton, volleyball. I think that's our bocce, and there's pickleball again. You can see that's the wiffle ball I was talking about before. We also built what I call a council ring, and we go out there, and we have lots of fun, right? The human beings will sit still really only for three things. One is music, the other is water. They'll sit still next to water, and they'll sit still next to a campfire. So these are very important elements of what I do. The other element that we're introducing to Cabin in the Woods is what I call, or I don't actually call it that, that's the term that's used, it's called backyard homesteading. People love growing stuff. So each one of these cabins will have its own garden. We can do a lot with a very small area. These are clients of mine in a small town, actually a village in Portugal called Pinhão. And you can see pretty much every house in the village has a really nice backyard homestead. So it's very important. Human beings are rediscovering being outdoors, rediscovering growing things. And that's an important part of making these business models work better. So here's my cost breakdown, all right? So I bought this lot that nobody else wanted because it's got floodplain on it, it's got wetlands on it. Everybody thought it was junk land. I love it. I bought it for $40,000. I'm building the bunkie for about $50,000. And when you look at renting it out as a glamping site, where people can come and stay for a few days, a week, or a couple of weeks, I'm going to end up with about a 23 or 24% return on investment. And again, if you value that at an 8.5% cap rate instead of 23.7%, the value of that property will go to about $250,000 in about a year or two, once I prove the income. So you can see you could make, $100,000 or $200,000 on these models without really, having to, think too hard about it. These are not, this is not like putting a man or a woman on Mars. That's hard. And then imagine this, if it is successful, I could put a second bunkie on the property. I can put, legally, I can put 2 bunkies on there. I said maybe I could put a third or fourth, but legally I'm only allowed to put 2. But if I put a second bunkie on this, maybe the property would be worth $400,000 with 2 bunkies on it. It's ridiculous from a property that nobody else wanted, right? So that's what I call the cabin in the woods model. And so there's my motto. We should go glamping. This is the last model that I'm going to show you tonight. It's called Long Yards. All right. And this is a story. It's a wonderful story about Chris Long. Here's Chris with his daughter, Lily. I've known Chris for a long time. He's now 32, I think. And he has been a single dad since he was a teenager. So he's been bringing up Lily by himself for a long time. And when I first started coaching him, he had come from a very difficult background. So not an easy life growing up. And he ended up literally with a baby. Unfortunately, a mom didn't want the baby, but Chris did. So he's been bringing Lily up since she was a tiny baby, and has done a wonderful job with her. And he was a licensed carpenter, making about $18 an hour. So as I got to know Chris better, I realized he had quite a few strengths: strength of character, willingness to work hard, imagination, guts. And I said to Chris, you ought to buy this piece of land. It's an industrial piece of land, about 10 acres, and you should create a business which is called mini contractor yards. He said, well, I don't know what the heck that is, but it's now called Long Yards. It's been a huge success, and I'll show you what it is. So this is a guy I coach in Arizona. His name is Kyle. And what Kyle did, he was the one who came up with this model. This is not my model, it's his model, where he buys a piece of industrial land, puts in a road like this, and divides it up into mini contractor yards. So every contractor, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning contractor, plumber, every one of the contractors that everybody who has a pickup truck needs a yard. You know, they have materials they have to store and all equipment they have to store. Everyone needs a yard. And this is what Kyle's yards look like in Arizona. So here's the roadway, and you can see there's screening on it. And each one of these are cut up into yards that are typically about 44 or 45 feet wide and maybe 100 feet deep. So they're not big, but they're very, very, very valuable. And something else that Chris is doing now is he's bought this 10 acres of industrial land, again, that no one else wanted. And not only does he cut them up into these contractor yards, puts gravel down, puts fencing up, he also leases these little buildings. They're so small they don't even need a building permit, and they're called mini offices. So if you're a contractor, you can rent a yard, and you can have a little mini office with internet and everything you need. They're only 100 square feet. I think they're not even 100 square feet, 99 square feet. I think they're 9 feet wide and 11 feet deep, but they're really cute little offices. They're called beach studios, but I don't know why they call them that, but that's what they're called. This is what the property looked like when he bought it. So, you know, one of the themes that you should have picked up from me today is that I like properties that no one else likes. This property had been for sale for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. And it was 2 gentlemen from Syria who owned the property. Unfortunately, given circumstances in Syria, they needed to sell it. So I said, Chris, you ought to buy it. And this is what it looked like. This is the house that was on the property. It looked like this. Now, you can imagine everybody would drive by this and they would run away like screaming. And I said, this is fantastic. So this is what it looked like. And this is what it looks like today. So Chris, as you know, he's a licensed carpenter, so he was able to fix this up. So this house here now has a very nice 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment on the ground floor, a 2-bedroom apartment in the basement, and the garage, remember the garage is here, and now is Chris's office. This is the entrance to the basement. This is the entrance to the main level. This is Chris in what was the garage and is now his office. You can see this is another picture. So it wasn't quite finished then, but it is now. And this is Lily holding up on the grand opening her dad's business card. She was really proud of her dad. So was I, opening up Long Yards. Remember, his last name is Long, so Chris Long, Long Yards. It just seemed to make sense. It's a wonderful name. And here he is as he's building this these out. So these aren't finished. These are pictures that were taken as he was going along. Obviously now it has privacy screening because, you know, a lot of the stuff that contractors put in these yards, you know, is very expensive. Stainless steel pipe and all kinds of expensive equipment. So you don't really want people looking in and seeing what you have. This is simply the front of the property. It's got lots of great signage. Signage is super cheap and it works for you 24/7, 365. This is the plan that is being developed. And what I thought was cool about the name Long Yards was it's a long, skinny piece of property. Again, nobody else wanted it, but it's actually perfect for lawn yards, right? You just put a road down the middle and you slice it up into these mini contractor yards. So let me just show you the numbers that have happened. He's done this in 4 years. He bought it for $475,000. Now, Chris didn't have $475,000. So what I did was I asked the two gentlemen from Syria if they would give him a seller take-back mortgage. In other words, they would provide the financing for him to buy it. And they did. They gave him 90% because they hadn't been able to sell it to anybody else. So 90% of it was financed by the seller. He borrowed $680,000 from investors to, you know, build out the yards. He's currently making $372,000 a year from this. Remember, he was making $18 an hour in 2016. So to go from making $18 an hour to making $372,000 a year, that's a big change in 4 years. And the property is now valued at $5.7 million. And he called me up just before Christmas. He got an offer on the property and he was so proud. He said, Bruce, imagine me, you know, a 32-year-old millionaire. And he just wanted to give me the good news. I said, Chris, you're not going to sell it, are you? He said, absolutely not. He got an unsolicited offer. And I said, don't sell it. I mean, why would you sell it? You know, he said, I'm not going to. And he has now 12 requests, 12. To franchise this in other locations in Canada, the United States. So this is a potential $100, $200, or $300 million a year business for Chris. And he's never going to sell it. So I just wanted to share with you guys some stories about real estate so that you get an understanding that you can, maybe some of you don't believe that you can actually do some of these things, but I think you can. And the proof is that hundreds, in fact, thousands of other people, I've coached about 2,500 people, have done this kind of thing. So there you go.
Thank you, Bruce. That was amazing. Amazing stuff. I appreciate this a lot, and been really generous to do this for us today.
Yeah, really giving us new ideas. Also, I wanted to ask you, you know how long does the real estate license take to get it?
How long it takes to get a real estate license?
Yeah.
Most people can do it in about 18 months to 24 months. But you don't need to have a real estate license to do the kinds of things that I've been talking about today. You know, Chris Long doesn't have a real estate license. And out of the 2,500 people that I put through my coaching practice, probably 100 of them have their real estate license, but 2,400 don't. So if you want it, go ahead and do it, but you don't need it.
Yeah, I'm just asking because my father has started like 3-4 months ago trying to get it.
Sure.
And
most people can do it.
How long would it take?
In less than 2 years. I got my license. I'm a real estate broker because, you know, I get asked to handle transactions for third parties. But if I were just a developer again, I don't need it to. You know, you're allowed to sell your own property without a license. You just can't sell somebody else's property.
That's true. Also, thanks a lot for your time, sir. It's been really nice to meet you, and great ideas, great mindset, and thanks for the great ideas and for your time.
So what I did was I put in my put in the chat box my email address. If you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to hear from you. I hear from Michael quite often, and I'd be happy to hear from any of you. My email address is bruce@brucemfirestone.com. You got to put the M in there. That's my middle initial. So bruce@brucemfirestone.com. I do run, I don't know if you know this, Michael, I do run a free monthly meetup group called the ROI group.
I didn't know about that, but I do want to register for your course. No, you brought it up about in 2019 when we talked, but I do want to register for it. But yeah, I'd love to hear about the meetup as well.
Yeah, so what we do is we meet up the second Wednesday of every month. We don't meet in August because holidays, and we don't meet in December because of Christmas and parties and vacations, and people just want to be with their families. So we do 10 meetups a year. If you email me, bruce@brucemfirestone.com, it's a free group. If you like it, you can stick with it. If you don't, that's fine. You just have to email me and say, hey, Bruce, add me to the ROI group. We have great guests. We do it, like I said, the second Wednesday of every month, except August and December, from noon until 1:30. So second Wednesday of every month, noon, and we have wonderful guests. And you'll learn a lot about real estate and something about business too.
Excellent. And yeah, I really want to. I also want to register for the course. Like I'm really.
Yeah. So Michael, just reach out to me about if you just email me about the course. If you want to take the course, that's great. But if you want to be added to the ROI group, absolutely, just email me, and yeah, I'll add you to it, and you can join when you have time. And a lot of people seem to find it worthwhile.
Excellent. Both would be awesome. Yeah.
And somebody's asking, is the ROI group on Zoom? Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, we don't physically meet up. I mean, there are members from the United States. I've got quite a few clients in California, mostly tech guys who are interested in real estate. By the time you're 40 in tech, you're considered old, and they're trying to shove you out the door. So I've got a lot of 35 to 45-year-old tech clients, not just in California, Kitchener, Waterloo, Ottawa, Toronto, Boston, Austin, Melbourne, Australia, Stockholm. So tech guys tend to be very interested in real estate because they get sick of tech too, because tech is great when it works, but when it doesn't work, as you know, Michael, if you and I started a tech company for $500,000 and it didn't work, we probably wouldn't get any money out of it if we sold it. Maybe we get $5,000 for the intellectual property. But if you and I invested in a townhouse like Ali did with his $500,000 in cash, and we got sick of each other, we probably could sell it for $500,000. So real estate is kind of a business model for dummies. And tech guys, by the time they get to 35, 40, 45, I figured that out. So I've been coaching quite a few tech people, and I enjoy that. So you guys could certainly just like I said, send me an email. And we have an ROI group coming up on Wednesday. So if you send it to me tomorrow, I'll make sure you're included. You get the Zoom invite. Like it's 90 minutes. Most people can find 90 minutes from noon until 1:30. All right. So listen, guys, I really appreciate the time and the invitation. I'm not sure if I did a great job for you, and I'm not sure if I was right on point for what you were looking for, but I did my best. Okay.
It was great, Bruce. Amazing stuff, and it was an excellent learning experience, and yeah, we're very happy.
Just before I end it, if I end it because I'm the host, I'll end it for everybody. Do you want to end it, or do you want to continue on?
I'm gonna continue. All
right. So I'll just simply I'll mute myself. First of all, I'm going to stop the video. Again, thank you, everybody. And actually, I stopped my. I stopped.
Well, I reclaimed. I think I reclaimed the host, so you don't have to worry about if you